Microsoft is increasing the cost of the Xbox dev kit in the latest price hike for all Xbox products, it seems. And Arc developers Embark has confirmed that first person is not coming to Arcraiders in their most recent server slam test. That is what we're going to be talking about today. My name is the Techno Jelly. Please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it if you do. Let's get right into the video. Starting with the fact that Microsoft is reportedly increasing the price of the Xbox dev kit, which is the kit that game developers buy for Xbox specifically. And it's like a decked out Xbox. It's not just an Xbox, but it's a bunch of things and it has access to other things as well. And these dev kits are very useful, especially to smaller or like medium-sized teams, and obviously the AAA devs as well, but they probably already have them. And it was reported by The Verge, behind a paywall, unfortunately, so I'm getting this from Pure Xbox, that it was increased by 33% up to $2,000 US from $1,500, which is a 33% increase to the cost, and it's seemingly odd choice because like these things, like not a lot of people are buying these things. It's for devs specifically, and it's for people who make games for Xbox. So why are you making this more expensive? Because you want people to make games for Xbox and you want it to be as easily accessible as possible. And this is only going to hurt the smaller teams with the lower budgets because they don't need to purchase a dev kit for PC, or which most indie games release on. So it's weird that Xbox's dev kit is becoming more expensive when more and more AAA games are becoming less frequent. So I feel like a lot of platform holders are kind of depending on indie games more and more, because some indie games go crazy and they sell hundreds to millions of copies and everyone's taking a cut of that. Like, you know, when a game sells 1 million copies on Steam's taking a cut of that purchase every time. So when someone buys a game on Xbox is taking a cut. So why are you making it more difficult to purchase things for Xbox for these game developers? Because there's not really a good reason to make your game for Xbox nowadays unless Microsoft is paying for you to put it on Xbox Game Pass. Because I feel like at this point, Microsoft just straight up hates Xbox, because this is a consecutive decision to make it more annoying for people to do stuff on Xbox, because the actual console price went up twice in 2025. Xbox Game Pass went up in price. They don't really have exclusives. They tried to raise the price to $80, but luckily they did bring it back down to $70. And the Xbox sales themselves are really low. And then they had the Xbox Ally handheld at $1,000. Or okay, it wasn't technically $1,000. It was $999 or something like that. But like, it's seemingly very expensive to get something on Xbox right now. And the problem is that you don't gain any benefit from getting it on an Xbox unless you want Xbox Game Pass, but that also increased in price. And if you want Xbox Game Pass, you kind of need an Xbox for it, but that increased price twice this year. So I don't understand the thought process that Microsoft has unless they actually really just want Xbox to die. Because like, I don't understand what the thought process is for Microsoft specifically towards the Xbox brand. Because the Xbox brand, even though I've talked about it dying and stuff like that, it still has tens of millions of players. But all you're doing is making those players less and less every time they make an announcement. And it should be the opposite. Xbox should be making things easier to make games, or better to buy stuff on an Xbox console rather than a PlayStation or Steam or Nintendo. But throughout this year and last year, and I feel like the last few years, I feel like Microsoft seemingly doesn't care and is just okay of taking a massive loss all the time on Xbox products other than Xbox Game Pass. But it has been said that Xbox Game Pass is profitable. I don't know if I necessarily agree with them though, because of the way they're calculating numbers. It doesn't really include things like day one releases with Xbox games themselves. Like, it's not taking into account like how many people would have purchased this game if it wasn't for the fact that it was on Game Pass. And like, that is a slippery slope, I totally understand, but I just don't believe that Xbox Game Pass is profitable, because it's too good of a deal even with the price increase, which is just like saying a lot to how good of a deal it was. But even with its increased price at $30 US at least, or $29.99 US for the Ultimate Edition, it's still an insanely good deal for a lot of people. Like, true, you don't own the games. You know, they could take the games out at any point. But for a person that is not really going to be buying that many video games, that's a pretty good price to try a ton of games. And like, if you play it once, it's not a big deal. You know, if you think about it, how many games are you going to buy for $30 that you only play once? Like, a lot of people, especially big gamers, especially PC gamers, you have bought so many games that you have never played once. But for Game Pass, you pay for the subscription and you play a game once, and then there you go. And then if you sometimes you play a game multiple times, then you've already paid for itself. Like, if you play one game a month, a different game once a month, you actually just pay the service itself more than once, especially if you're playing AAA games, because AAA games are $70. So if you play one AAA game, that's 2 months of Game Pass equivalent. So it's kind of crazy. It's still a really good deal. But the problem is that everything is getting more expensive, even outside of Xbox, but like, it feels worse for Xbox. And I'm not entirely sure why I feel that way, but I think part of the reason is that Xbox doesn't have good news right now. Halo is probably at the worst state it's ever been. Gears of War basically doesn't exist. And I actually don't even know more Microsoft properties other than those two. I guess the racing game, but the racing game is very specific. But like, when it comes to video games, Halo and Gears of War are the only two that I can even think of right now for Xbox, and both of those are in very bad state. And like, there hasn't been like a new good one in a long time. And like Halo, you can argue Infinite was okay, but like, it's taken a really long time since we're in the Halo Prime days of like Halo 1, 2, and 3, you know? And Xbox used to be top dog, right? They used to be at least second place or competitive for first, you know, when like the 360 was out. But now they are so far in third place that literally PlayStation is literally sabotaging themselves half the time because of some of the things they do as well. And it doesn't actually matter because Microsoft is not catching up in any realistic way. And with the next generation of consoles coming soon, probably, most likely, I don't know what Xbox is trying to do. Like, I'm so confused because like the Xbox brand is probably at its lowest in a very long time, and constant decisions of making things more expensive at a time where people are spending less money for something like video games, because let's be honest, I love video games, but it's not a necessity. It is a luxury item, and luxury items are the first things to go when people are worried about money, and increasing the price for things doesn't make sense. And then to put on top of that, increasing the price for devs who are trying to make games to make people buy your products makes zero sense, because all this is hurting is indie games and the AA games, because, you know, the AAA studios are going to do it, like I said before. But there's literally no reason to own an Xbox right now, and even less so because less indie games are going to be coming onto it. Because, like, some of the best things about the Game Pass, as I was saying, is that there's so many games on it, and a lot of those are indie games. Now, to be fair, those aren't going to be the $70 games that's saving you a ton of money. But, like, even so, even playing some of the half-price games on there, or, like, the AA games, it's still crazy good. And if you're playing a indie game and you play like 10 hours of that once every couple months, it's still a pretty good deal, because you're probably going to be playing more than that. And you're getting access to all the other things that the Ultimate Edition does. So it's probably good, but it feels really weird to me that Xbox is doing all these things. And I'm worried about Xbox. I don't think it's dying, but I'm worried that Microsoft doesn't actually care anymore, and they have looked past Xbox and they're looking into other things. When we know they are heavily investing in AI and stuff like that, but I fear that Microsoft actually doesn't care anymore about Xbox, which is sad, because I feel like Xbox is like slowly being taken to the farm at this point, and I just don't understand any of these decisions. But I guess I'm also not part of the system at all, right? So I don't understand, like, I don't see the numbers, so maybe the numbers are telling them that it's fine, but it's still very strange to me. Moving on to the game that I'm personally really excited about, Arcraiders, made by Embark, which is a developer of a bunch of ex-DICE devs, the one that, from what I know mostly. And on Video Gamer, I saw them talking about to Embark and saying that Arcraiders is not going to have a first-person mode, which has seemed to be a very heavily debated topic on this because a lot of people don't like the fact that it is third person, even though a lot of third person games are literally the most popular games in the world, like Fortnite. Like Fortnite is a third person pretty much only game. Like I guess technically there's some first person modes, but like the core gameplay loop of Fortnite is third person. So I don't know why everyone so like really wants this game to be first person. And I think it's actually cooler and makes it more distinct and different, it being third person. And it makes you be a little more interesting in terms of visual aspect because you can see everything. Like you can see your character. It doesn't have to be just first person animations. And from what at least from what I have seen and heard from devs, generally third person games are easier to animate for. I'm not sure if that is just a personal preference or not, but I've heard that animating something for a third person game, at least in the coding aspect, is slightly easier than first person, which I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I am not a dev, but I've seen some devs say that, and I'm going to say that, I mean, I can understand that. There is a lot more, not hand wavy. Hand wavy isn't the right word, but it's a lot more less noticeable if an animation isn't the perfect animation in third person. Though, to be fair, Arcraiders is an amazingly animated game. All the animations are amazing. And one of the reasons we can see that is because it's third person. We can see all of it. We can see the character be moving and stuff like that. And it's very designed to be third person. And I think one of the best things about Arcraiders is that it is not a extraction shooter trying to be third person for the sake of being third person. It is a game that was made with the fact of balancing and how the game plays and how the game feels in third person. The game was made to be a third person shooter. So everything is designed around the fact that it is in fact a third person shooter, which is a really good idea, I feel like, because it is a really weird feeling when you play a game and it's like, oh, it's pretty obvious that they decided to do something else, even though the division was something else. Like for instance, when Fortnite has a first person mode, playing Fortnite in first person when they did that tactical mode thing felt really weird. It did not feel right, and it really wasn't designed for it. So I'm glad Arcraiders is kind of like putting their foot down during the server slam and all the technical tests, because one of the most common thing I ever saw was please make this first person. And I'm glad they're not, because I think this game being third person is really good and it's super interesting. And it's one of the reasons why I'm super excited about it, because for me, extraction shooters specifically have always been too hardcore. They've always been on the side of like, I still want a game to be fun and not annoying in like a bad way. Like, sure, games can be annoying. Don't get me wrong. I get annoyed at games all the time, but the way things like Escape from Tarkov got annoying is like, I don't know what all 400 of these ammo types do. I don't know what this gun is, and the game doesn't explain anything to you, which, to be fair, Arcraiders doesn't really explain a lot to you either, but the things it does explain, you can kind of start assuming and or making educated guesses what other things can do for you. And I think the setting is just really cool. I'm so glad that we don't have another extraction shooter that's just a modern military first person shooter. And I think that's the biggest thing about Arcraiders for me, about not getting in first person, is that all the other extraction shooters in the genre are first person. Like the big three, or the two that I know the most about, is Escape from Tarkov, obviously, and then the free-to-play Tarkov, which I unfortunately cannot remember the name of now. Delta Force, I think its name. I think it's Delta Force. And so those games, when you put them side to side, it's without actually knowing the two games, it's really hard to tell the difference between the two. But when you see a screenshot of Arcraiders, you know it's Arcraiders. And I think the extraction genre is missing that factor. It's like similar to when you show a screenshot of Dota 2 or a screenshot of League of Legends. You know they're technically both the same genre, but they're very different games in view, and like when you get into the nitty-gritty of things, it's also very different. But with extraction shooters, you really couldn't tell the difference until Arcraiders, in my opinion. And you can, I guess, if you put in Hunt Showdown as well, depending, because Hunt Showdown is definitely a lot more niche. To be fair, the whole genre is niche, but like in terms of popularity, Hunt Showdown, but like that one looks really different, but that's still a first-person shooter. So I'm glad that they have put their foot down and they're not going to add a first-person mode. They're going to solely focus on it being a third-person shooter. I'm really excited for when the game comes out. Let me know if you guys are excited about the Arcraiders coming out in the 30th, or if you agree with me the fact that I feel like Microsoft hates Xbox now and is like oddly against them making money, but it does feel really weird. Thank you everyone for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you would like support directly and join all of these nice people going across your screen right now, go over to the Patreon at patreon.com/xboxseriesx. twitch.tv/@technojelly. You get access to a once a month stream and other perks. Please go over there and check it out and join the members. I'd really appreciate it. If you would like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. Once again, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Goodbye, everyone.